Try to set you up on a foundation such that when you see something on HTML, anytime, any day, you're able to say, I understand. So that is the form. This is how a form look like. Or you are going to a website or an app with your friend, and you'll be like, okay, this is an HTML form. I know how this is built. This is the password. This is how it looks. This was done with a list. This is an anchor tag for a link. You understand? These are things that makes you different from the average person who does not even know much of all of these things. You understand? So with the interest, like I just talked about, passion is very, very important. I can teach you everything you need to know, but if you don't have the passion and the discipline to keep learning, everything that I taught you, first of all, we just wade away. First of all, you will not even get to even remember them. Secondly, even if you remember them, that's the much you can know. You can't know more than that. You understand? So the passion and the discipline is very, very, very important because it helps you to keep on learning and keep on improving every time, every step of the way. Somebody messaged me last night on LinkedIn, and the person was just asking some questions and telling me he's been spending his weekend debugging JavaScript code and all of that. I sense he's kind of like a junior developer or somebody that just coming up in the JavaScript ecosystem. And I just told him like, I understand and I can relate because I've been there. You understand? But it becomes easier when you always keep at it. You understand? It becomes better when you always do it. We will have challenges. I'm not going to say you won't have challenges. You have challenges, you have tough times. Sometimes you will even have imposter syndrome where you'll be like, can I learn this thing? Is it not too hard for me? Am I understanding? Should I just give up and maybe go and do something else? Should I just do graphics? Is AI taking over the world? Is AI going to like you are thinking so much? First of all, overthinking is even a problem. Try not to do that. You understand? Try to focus on what matters. So there's so many trends going up these days, but what matters is what you have, what you own, what you can say, this is what I can do. That anywhere in the world, you can bring it up and say, this is what I can do. Not overthinking, because if you overthink, you're wasting valuable time. Something that you can use to learn something, you're overthinking. So try to avoid overthinking. And everything you do, all the work you put in are valid. You understand? And little bits of those work turn up to be something massive. You understand? The most important thing, like I always say, is always show up every day. At some days you will not be feeling like writing code. Try to watch a video. At some days you won't be feeling like doing anything. Try to do the little bit of thing you can do, but always show up every day. It counts. Trust me, it counts. I've been doing these things for some couple of years now. More than I think over almost 7 years. I was discussing with a friend of mine over almost 7 years or so thereabout, and it counts. I don't think there's any day I've gone a week or 3 days or 4 days without taking my system and maybe either I'm coding or I'm watching a video, just do something that just gets me inspired somehow. So always show up. So I just felt like to just give this little bit of discussion to just kind of like motivate our minds because I know some of us might have been maybe becoming weary and tired, but it happens. It comes with the job. Comes with the job, seriously. So just keep your mind sharp and still motivated. You'll get there. So from our week outline, like for those joining, welcome. I'm trying to just take a little bit of time so everybody can at least get here, so we can have a better discussion. So we've been able to cover up HTML, CSS. We did that for like a week. I think a week or two thereabouts. They were able to cover up CSS. We did that for 2 weeks as well. So we've done some couple of jobs for 4 weeks. So currently we're on week 5, and we have just 2 more weeks, like I explained, of which we are keeping the last week for projects. So I think it makes more sense at this point in time to start taking a look at projects. Let's start thinking about what type of project do we want to do. I'm going to give a brief description of the list of projects that we can do, something easier. I'm going to drop it on WhatsApp. So you get to see a list of the projects you can do. I'll point you to some links on Figma when I prepare the project designs. So you can pick some project there and try to work on it. Because I don't want you to say, okay, let's finish JavaScript first before you start picking out the project. It's going to take time, you understand? And I want that most of us works, so we don't have the whole week to just play around. And I understand that So it makes more sense we start starting up the project since we are done with HTML and CSS. We start working on the project from now, such that before on the 8 weeks that we are doing the review, we would have gone through everything we need to do. And as we are working on the project, because we are going to do the HTML part and the CSS parts, we can learn the JavaScript part by the side. JavaScript is not that very, very necessary for this project that we're trying to do. Although you can put it in when you learn something, but I just need to know your HTML and CSS keys so far. You understand? So that's like the core purpose of the project we're looking at. I don't know if you can still hear me and see me. I think just to confirm that my connection is okay. All right, thank you. Okay, so I was kind of going through some of my old PDFs that I kind of used to brush up back then when I was still trying to learn at this stage. So there was a particular PDF that I normally use back then to normally do some brush ups. It's I think one of the best PDFs I've seen or I've read because I tend to always read projects. I know most of us this time and age prefer to just watch a video, maybe come to class. It's still okay, but let's not forget to always read. Reading is very, very important because in the world of programming, you're supposed to be reading so much, reading documentation, reading white papers, different things. So everything people bring stuff, privacy policy, you have to read. If you don't read things get hidden from you and you don't even know what you're doing anymore. So that's why I said, okay, let me bring up the PDFs. So I'll show the PDF. It contains detailed of what we talked about in HTML that would even go deep. Tables, down, videos, audio, multimedia, several. It contains so much. The same thing goes for CSS. Just a book that covers HTML and CSS. I'll just kind of do a quick run through of the document. Then I'm going to paste it on the WhatsApp too as well, so we have an idea of that book. And I think there's some other resources that I wanted to also share. I'll just share all of them. So this is kind of like the book. You can see, I don't know if anybody has seen it before. You can also attest to the fact that it has been helpful if you have seen it before, but I'm not too sure. So we have HTML, CSS, design and build websites. That's what it contains. It doesn't contain JavaScript, just HTML and CSS strictly. That's talked about some important concept. You can see the table of contents. This is table of contents that contains the structure, text list, links, images, tables, forms, flash video, audio, CSS, colors, text boxes, list, tables, forms, layouts, images, HTML5 layouts. So it covers everything you need to have a very strong HTML CSS foundation. So I'll be dropping the book on the WhatsApp. I don't want to drop it now, but after the call, I'll just drop everything because I have some other resources that I want to drop as well. So I'll just drop everything after today's class. So we can use that to do a review and help us build our projects better. So without further ado, let's just dive into today's class. So today's class, we'll be talking about JavaScript class today. I guess so many persons are excited, so many persons are not excited. But just in case you are, I think we've come a long way to at least be excited, even if it's a bit. It's not easy. For those of us that have been here since week 1, HTML, CSS, now we've come to JavaScript. So we'll be doing JavaScript for roughly 2 weeks, which is 5, 6, and 7. We won't try to rush it so much so you get to understand the foundations of it. So that's all we're doing. Is a course that has more weeks than the others. HTML and CSS are 2 weeks each. This is just 3 weeks. So I hope that I'm able to explain it very, very well so you can understand and it makes a lot of sense to you. So I didn't prepare a PowerPoint for this because it's kind of like I'm trying to make it not too long, but I had to just kind of write down everything I need to write down here. So I said, okay, let's just focus on what we need to focus today, which is an outline that we can discuss about. Let's just leave out the PowerPoints for now. So this is our outline for possibly this week. I don't know if we can cover it up today, but if we can cover it up today, we'll continue from here and we'll add more modules to it to cover up for the other 2 weeks that I'll be talking about JavaScript. So talking about JavaScript introduction, this is a course outline. It has the first module talking about getting started with JavaScript and an introduction to JavaScript. What is JavaScript? So JavaScript basically is just a programming language that was practically designed for the web. And it was designed around the year 1995 with the intention of trying to render content or elements on the web, kind of create some form of motions and dynamics on the web. So that was like maybe the summary of the essence of why it was created. And there are certain roles of JavaScript in web development these days, of which I spoke about the last time we had an initial call on HTML, where I mentioned that the HTML is just like a skeleton of the programming language world, where it shows the bones and how everything stands, but it's just a skeleton, doesn't do much, just gives you the skeleton. Why the CSS is what makes it have things like the muscles, the flesh, the colors, the eyes, everything that makes it human. But it's more like a dead human in this case. Let me use the word if it's not too heavy. So it's kind of like a human without life, but a human that has flesh, everything that a human should have. Now, bringing the JavaScript part to it, it's like breathing air or life into this human without life. Then the human becomes functional. It can think, it can move its hands, it can walk, it can run, probably it can fly. That's if humans can fly. But that's just a little bit of side notes. So that is basically what JavaScript does in this context. It kind of gives the web application some form of life that you can interact with it. It's instead of me to go to a particular website and read content, read so many structures, I come there, I click on a particular item in my list, it get added to the carts. I open the carts, I select, I want 5 items. There's dynamics in terms of what I do and how I do it on the web. Unlike back then where you can go to the web and just read content like a newspaper, you cannot do anything, you cannot bookmark it, you cannot save it, you cannot download it, it's just static. So JavaScript now gives it that life where you can afford to spend hours on one page because you are doing something, you are sending feedbacks, you are getting responses, you are doing so many things. That is the purpose of JavaScript. It gives a web life. So we have real world examples of JavaScript in action. I think I talked about an e-commerce section whereby you go to a particular site, you're able to buy something and move around. That's an e-commerce setup. Or you go to, there's some couple of games that will play online these days on our web browser. I think there was one game called Wardrobe. You can remember, those of us that played it. I think the trend just kind of went cool. But that was a very beautiful game that you can just try to guess word of the day, select wonder what comes up. You have 3 selections. A very nice, interesting games. It's still built on JavaScript as well because JavaScript gives it the dynamics to move around and make selections. There are other kind of applications that you can also use JavaScript on, but let's not dive in all of those things. I know we know most of those things than I do myself, so we just skip the long notes and just move to number 2. So on number 2 here we have setting up your environment. We've discussed this before. What we talked about how to set up a VS Code. We don't have to go through that gibberish anymore. Now we have different ways in which the JavaScript can be added to an HTML. And this is quite similar to what we talked about in CSS last time, where we said that CSS can be added in 3 different ways. It can be added inline, can also be added internally, and also externally. So the same thing too works for JavaScript, whereby JavaScript can be added inline, internal, and also external. But most unlikely does it even have much use case inline. Although you can put it inline, but most of the time it's just kind of like frowned upon. Like there's no point, just put the JavaScript externally. So most people tend to write JavaScript externally. And some few times where you have to just make simple logics. You understand? Those simple logics, you will now have to put those simple logics internally because they're not that long, they're just short. So you can afford to put those simple logics internally in your HTML code. But most of the time, we put it as an external script. or we can import it to our HTML code, then run it from there. So on the third outline for today on module one, we're talking about the first JavaScript program. So we'll be writing our very first hello world in JavaScript. That's what people always do, because when you're learning any programming language, aside maybe CSS, that you cannot just put hello world, it does not make sense. So I think in HTML, JavaScript, PHP, you always get to start with an hello world. So that's what we're going to do today. I think with an hello world, then we'll take it up from there. So quickly, let's go to our VS Code, then we'll come back here to continue on module 2. So let's get our code set up, which I have here. So over here, I have my code set up for week 5. Week 5. So I think I made a mistake here. So this is supposed to be week 5. Why this my week 5 is supposed to be week 6? Sorry, week 4. Then this one's supposed to be week 5. All right. So let me even go back and just know how many persons are following, how many persons are still here, where we are. If I'm still on the call or I've gone out. All right. So guys, how we doing? I didn't get to talk to you guys last week, and I tried as much as possible to just kind of be fast because of time's sake today. But I think I will just take a little bit of 2 minutes to just know how we're doing. Hi, Binza, how are you doing? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I'm
How are you
very
doing?
well. I'm very well, sir.
How the learning been for you so far?
Interesting.
Okay. Are you able to build your project, or you are still learning?
Well, the last class work we were given, I'm on the footer section.
Oh, that's nice. How is it going? Like, is it making sense, or some things are still complex or complicated? How has it been like?
Yeah, it's I'm still getting it gradually. There are some things I would still need to research about. Some properties I would go on Google and research for it. So everything is going gradually. Hopefully, I get to know
Oh,
everything, or maybe some things later.
all right, all right. I think that's fine. That's fine. Thank you very much. Gloria, how you doing? Hello, Gloria. How you doing? Are you there? Who else do we have on the call? Hi, Obami. How you doing? Hello, hi, Obami. How you doing? Are you there?
Hey,
Okay.
good afternoon, good evening, good afternoon. Yes, I'm
How you
here.
doing?
I'm fine.
I didn't get to see you last week.
Yeah, I've been under the weather. Even now, I'm quite under the weather, so I didn't join
So,
the class the last time.
have you been able to see the video at least from the class?
No, I haven't.
Okay, just try to take a look at it so you can have an understanding of where we are currently, because we just completed the CSS section of the course last week, so I review the video just to get updated.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Sorry
Yeah,
about the help.
thank you.
Hi, Cyril, how you doing? Hi, Cyril, are you there? All right, David, how you doing? Hi, David, how you doing? This is not here. Gifts, are you there? How you doing?
I'm okay, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Were you available last week?
No, I wasn't.
Yeah, I thought as much.
I
What
have
happened?
network issues.
Oh, okay, okay. Are you able to see the video from last week?
Yes, I'm still watching it. I had some little confusions, but I'm working on it.
Oh, okay. All right, no problem. Just when you have any issue, just drop it on the chat so we can help you out. All
Okay,
right,
sir.
thanks. All right. Gloria, how you doing? Are you there now? Cyril, David. I think on the very last day of the week, let's say on week 8, I think I would like to see our faces, not just our voices. Nobody can tell, like we just see you caught maybe in my streets and I can identify you. So I think it makes more sense for me to see you, even if it's just for that very day. So please get your network fixed and get everything to be fixed so we can have proper facial discussions. That's week 8. That's like 3 weeks from now. Hi, Oni, how you doing?
Hi, Elvis. Very well, thank you. And you?
Yeah, I'm okay. I didn't get to see you last week. Did I?
No, I was on transit, and by the time I got back, the class was over. But I'm trying to catch up on last week's session, and hopefully by the end of this week, yeah. I
All
had
right,
the
all right,
busy.
all right. I can understand. I can understand. Thank you. Hi, Timmy Tayo. How you doing?
Hello, Elvis. Good evening.
Good evening. How you doing?
Fine. Fine.
How's your week?
No, it was there. It was just there.
All right, all right. It seemed you showed up last week and left, but I cannot remember.
No, I slept off. So I woke up after the class ended. But I watched the play and I was able to
Okay.
do some. Yes.
All right. All right. Thank you. So the most important thing is for you to always go back and watch the video, even though you were not present or your presence or whatever being the case, you still have to watch the video just to have an understanding of what we are doing. You understand? So I can also provide the results that I talked about initially to help you get grinded in those areas because we can't cover everything. So the more you watch and the more you learn by yourself, the better. You understand? So it's all right, everybody. So would it be okay, like I explained earlier on, that I would want us to start looking at working on our projects starting from this coming week, such that before we get to week 8, that's like 3 weeks from now, we should have like a working prototype or a working project that we can now afford to deploy. Remember the very first day we had our class, we had to create Netlify, and I think no, we didn't create a GitHub account, but we created a Netlify account. So we didn't create that account for weeks. You understand? So we're going to come back to that particular account as towards the I think the last week of the class, have that account opened, open up a GitHub account that we can afford to push our work to GitHub. We'll do a little bit of Git tutorials, very, very short one, so you can be able to push your work online. So that's like what we're going to use to close the class. So you have something to push online. But if you cannot do so much, or let's say you cannot complete the project, it won't make sense because it means like you spent 8 weeks already on something, and at the end of the 8 weeks, you don't have something like okay, you want to like post about. I guess you must have told some of your friends that I'm learning front end back and forth, and at the end of the day, you want to like boost again and show them, okay, this is what I did after my 8 weeks. I learned fast or I learned better or something. You get so it makes more sense to have something valuable, a receipt to show for your time. You understand? 2 weeks, 2 hours, sorry, 2 hours every Sunday. It's a lot of time that somebody can use to do so much in their life. Maybe even have a good sleep. Maybe you have a stressful weekend, have a good sleep, or prepare something good for yourself to eat, or go out, hang out with friends, learn something. It's a lot of time you can use to do something, but you decided to put that 2 hours to learn something tangible. And I think at the end of the day, you should also show a receipt for your hours well spent. You understand? So it is very, very expedient that we take a look at those projects that I'm going to be dropping later on this week, so we can start working on them so that we can finish them up before 3 weeks from now, then deploy them, then we are good. So enough of the chit chats. Let's go back to the codes and continue where we stopped. So I think we talked about, I'm going to share this PDF. This is not what I want to show today. So I'm going back to the documents. I'm looking at setting up HTML to have our basic hello world, like we talked about, and also have this going to module 2 properly. So I have my code set up here. So I'm going to just run this quickly on a live server like we talked about. Welcome back, guys. So this is what I wanted to show. That shows welcome back. So for today's class, based on the outline we have, the outline is guiding us to do certain things, which is, first of all, understanding the script tag. This is a tag that we've not talked so much about. So we'll talk about it, write an hello world script, then we'll do a simple comment, then we'll move to module 2 so we can be fast and cover up some grounds. So we'll go to our rendered HTML. So there are 2 ways in which we can afford to show content on our JavaScript. The first way and very most common way is to show it on the console. I'm going to show you how to pop up the console. And another way is to use something, an extension, which we call Code Runner. Code Runner is an extension that helps you log certain scripts, their outputs on your terminal without leaving, without having to leave that particular IDE or coding environment. So I'll just drift over to my IDE here, over here, open up my terminal. I'm not going to use this yet. I'll show you how to open it up quickly. I cannot do the shortcuts to open it. That's why it was kind of fast for me. I'll tell you about the shortcuts. But quickly, let's talk about the script tags. So for the script tags, most of the time, it is conventional wisdom to always place your script tag below the body of an HTML. I think that was done because at the point where this whole thing became a convention was the fact that if you place your script tag at the top, let me just tap this and show this as the script tag for now. If I place the script tag at the top, what happens here, sorry, let me place it below the head. All right. So what happens here is that if my script tag gets having so many complex calculations or computation that it has to do, it's going to delay the rendering of my HTML. If I run this now, you will not see any different because my script tag doesn't have any hello world, not doing so much. So it's going to always be fast. But in a real world project where I have so many computations in terms of I'm checking for e-document loads to do this, if this, whatever, it's going to take a lot of time before my welcome back guys gets rendered on the browser. So what I did is that if I move my script tag to the bottom, my script tag to the bottom, like the way I have it here. Let me just make this bigger, sorry. If I move my script tag to the bottom, just like the way I have it here, it's going to load all my HTML, which is at the top first, before getting to load the script tag. So there won't be any blocking code in terms of what I get to see first and what I get to interact. Because in the process workflow, you have to see something first before interacting with it. So that's why it makes more sense to show you what you need to see before putting up buttons or anything at all, any interactions or logic for you to now start clicking and interacting with. So that's why we have to place our body above the script tags. And just as coding develops to different things, they became several attributes that were developed to be added to a certain script tag, such that a script tag can now afford to be able to be placed anywhere and it will not affect the rendering of the body. But like I said, convention, people prefer to put it at the bottom. And we are going with convention, even though there are ways in which you can place at the top right now, and it will not block code, regardless of what it has. But based on convention, it makes more sense for us to have it placed at the bottom. And that's what we're going to be doing on this particular course. So I'll just put in a type here. So the element of this type tells my script that this is a JavaScript that I'm trying to run. So that's the essence of this type here. Just like though we had these style sheets for a link when we're trying to reference our CSS 2 weeks ago. So this style sheet rel tells this particular HTML that this particular link that I'm going to be placing here, please render it or treat it as a proper CSS element. Otherwise, it will not know how to handle it without the style sheet. So that is why we also place a type here, so it can treat it properly as a JavaScript code than just base open script. So that's the essence of this type here. I will just do text/JavaScript. So I'm going to save this particular code right now and go back to my browser that we have welcome guide shown on, then pop up our console, then try to see if we're going to see hello world on the console. So how do we do that? I go to my browser here. So I don't know, most of us that have probably a Mac or a Windows, I think to pop up a console, I don't know exactly how it will look like on the code setup. So what I'll just do is I'll just go to the basic way by showing you how to do this from here. So you're going to see the 3 ellipses here. So click on this horizontal ellipses here. Then you go to your settings. Sorry, not settings, more tools, because I'm going to developer tools. So you go to more tools over here. I guess it always shows more tools, no matter the browser that you're on, except Safari. I'm not sure about Safari. But you come to Chrome, click on these ellipses here, go to more tools. When you hover on more tools, you're going to see things like name, task manager, performance, and the likes. But what we are most interested in is the developer tools. We click that. It pops up our window by the side. We don't need all this data here, so I can afford to remove it. Maybe make this sidebar bigger. So you can see we have hello world. So we have successfully completed our first task of the day, which is creating our first hello world program. And you feel like, am I sure that's where the hello world is coming from? Fine, let's go back and let's do something else. Let's do, I can remember Binta. Let's say, hello Binta, how you doing? So we'll do something like this. I'm going to put a full stop. How are you doing today? Good. So we'll go back, then let's allow it to render again. So we have, hello Binta, how are you doing today? So this is how we do some consoles of our setup. And this console.log is the basic console that we have, but it's not the only console that we have. We have so many types of console. I'll just walk you through briefly. There can be 2 or 3. So we have console. Because I'm using some suggestions on my VS Code, I think your own VS Code should have this suggestion as well. So you can afford to see you have .log, you have .table, .time, .time end, .time log, .timestamp, .trace, .one. These are all the type of consoles that you can do. If I do a .one and I see, okay, fine, let me take a look at what a .one would be like, and even a .error. Let's see. It's going to be a different. They're going to be a different in terms of the colors of how it shows those messages. Let's see. So you can see I'm having, this is a warning message, and this is a warning message over here. It is quite different from the way it was showing for a normal console log, which is a white. Then you have a the warning message, which is this is a warning message. This is how it shows you when it's a warning message. Unfortunately, I don't think this error is working because I don't know, because it usually works before to be read, but why it's not working? So we'll just leave that aside. Maybe it's a couple of improvements that I haven't checked out recently. So let's do something else. Let's say console.table. Let's see how this will look like. So this is how a console.table would look like. So there are so many ways you can do so many of these consoles. I'll leave it here. Then I talked about 2 ways in which you can view console data. I talked about showing it up on your sidebar, which is a console area here. And I talked about showing it up on your VS Code right here. So let's take a look at that particular flow in terms of how do we show it up on the VS Code right here. Let me see if I can still remember the details of that. So what I'll do is that I'll open up my terminal. I'm first to open up a terminal for those of us that probably do not have a Mac. If you're on a Mac, you can do the control tilde sign, but let me just go through the normal flow. So you go to the top of your screen here, where you can see code, file, edit, selection, and the likes. So you're going to see terminal showing up here. So if I click on terminal and I click on new terminal, it pops up my terminal for me. If I close it and let me say let me do it again for those of us that probably didn't get it the first time. I go to the top of my screen here. I can see things like code, file, edits, just like this. I click on terminal. I click on new terminal again, and it pops up my terminal for me. So this is how I bring out my terminal. I can close all of this. I don't need so much terminals. So I just need one of them. And VS Code has so many features that you can afford to have two terminals side by side. By clicking on this split here, it gives you two terminals side by side. But we don't need two. Let's just remove one. Let's work with one for today. So how do we get to run our code that we can afford to see our consoles in the terminal area here? So for that, we'll have to install a certain extension called Code Runner. So go to our extension markets and search for an extension called Code Runner. I think I dropped this on my extension list that I sent out after week 1 class. So let's just take a look at that. Okay, this is Code Runner. So we'll install Code Runner. By the way, can you still hear me or can you still see me? Okay, that's good. Hope I'm making sense so far. All right, thank you. So let's go back to where we are. So we've gotten our Code Runner installed. So for those of us that have not installed it, I think it was on my extension list the last time. So you can afford to just go to your extension list or extension marketplace and search for Code Runner, then get to install it like this. So quickly, I'll just take a look at, so what this Code Runner does, you can see, it said run code snippets or code file for multiple languages, handle C, C++, Java, JavaScript, PHP, Python. Kind of like most of the setup that you can think. So it runs most of all of these things. So that's what the Code Runner does basically. So I'm trying to look for a shortcut. So this is the shortcut that you can use to run your code. Control-Alt-N. So this is the shortcut that I'm going to be using to run our code right now. I'm going to figure out how this works on a Mac and how it works on a Windows as well. So let's just put in our mind Control-Alt-N. We'll go back to our sample code that we have here. So while on this particular page, let's close this. We don't need this sidebar for now. Let's leave it like this. So while on this page, we're going to type in our shortcut, which is Control-Alt-N, and see what happens. So on my keyboard is kind of different because I'm not using a Windows. So I'm trying to just bring out the keys. Oops. I think I've pressed something else. Let me remove this. So let me just run this manually from here. Trying to run it without having to use the command run code. So what you can do, let me go back to what I did just now. So for this, if you don't, probably you're using a Mac, you can't do the Control-Alt-N, or you can't just figure out shortcuts, or your hand is not placing into the keys properly. So what you can do is that you go to you type Control Shift P, or if you're on a Mac, Command Shift P, then this brings up this type of setup over here. Then you just type for code, I think code runner, is that what we typed just now? Let me just search for it. Run code. So they'll just do run code instead. So this is the run code. So if you click on run code, let's see what happens. It's trying to code define unsupported or code language not supported. So we need to like try to define our language for this. I think I need to set this as JavaScript. Oops, now we have some couple of errors. Well, let me see if this will work. Oops, we're having some errors because it's written in wrongly. I guess this will work by the time we start moving to external scripts. So let's just leave it the way it is right now. When we move to external scripts that we have that is like a proper JS file, then we can afford to try it out again. So let's just leave it at auto detect, then continue. I'll create an external script just now, include this, then run it again. So let me just do that because that's our next area that we're looking at. Because let me just go back to our outline. So on our outline, we completed this, so we can afford to come here and say, okay, we've completed this task. Trying to just follow up. We've understood our script tag so far. Then comments. The way we do comments is the same way that we'll be doing comments all along. The shortcuts which I talked about, which is Control/. This is comments on a single line. Comments on multiple lines, the same thing. So this is just how you do comments in JavaScript. You select what you want to comment. You do a command for a Mac or Control for a Windows. And you just do Command// for a Mac, Control/ for a Windows. And that's how you apply your comments. So it's not much something that I have to come and start discussing because it's pretty much straightforward. So we completed our first module 1. So we're moving on to module 2. So let's talk about external scripts. So that's what we're going to be looking at going forward, external scripts in JavaScript. So let's really talk about external scripts. That will take us down to our module 2. So for external scripts, we're going to be writing a script file, which we're going to be calling script.js. So this is our first official script file. First official script file. So since we have this script file, we need to be able to include this script file import it into our HTML file so that we can be able to read data of the script file over there. So we'll go to our test.html file. Let me comment this out for now. There's a particular attribute that is called the source. It's already showing, as you can see. So we'll do a source, sroc, then open it like this. So for the source, like I talked about current working directory the last time I was doing an style sheet importation. So we'll just do a current working directory / then we'll click on our script.js. So this is how you do a little bit of imports on your script.js. We're going to confirm this because the last time we did this in CSS, it's had a kind of funny behavior. So we'll just try to confirm if it's actually hooked up very well. So we'll do that. We'll copy all our console logs that we have here. We'll cut it, save this. We've done an importation of one line external script. We'll go back to our script.js file. We'll paste it here. We'll select everything and we'll comment it back. Now let's go back to our browser and see if we will get the same data. For us to have a little bit of modification, we'll just do a double dot here, change this John to, let's say we change it to Gloria, then yeah, 25 New York, let's leave it like that. Then let's change Binta to, let's say we're using David. So we have this. So let's go back to our browser and see if what we've done made any effects. So you can see we have, hello David, how are you doing today? We have the name changed to Gloria. Then we have, what else? Give us a warning message, ... So it means that we successfully hooked up our external scripts into our HTML code. Now let's try what we're trying before, whereby we're trying to run this code because the file initially was an HTML file. So it was failing because it cannot detect that how can I run an HTML file? It's not a script. So let's see if that will work for our code, our scripts file now, since we're not having a proper JS script. So let's see, let's remove this extension tab. So we'll do the same thing that we did before. We'll click on one code. So let's see. So you can see
Hi guys, I think Elvis maybe he's having network issue. Let's just hold on. Going back. Okay.
hi guys, can you hear me now? Sorry for the interruption. Can you hear me now? All right, sorry, my internet just kind of like tripped off for a bit. So at what point did you guys stop hearing me, please? At what point did you guys stop hearing me? Someone should help me out. Someone should help me out. Or don't to call names. Gifts. At what point did you stop hearing me? For some reason you cannot take again. What's happening?
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Binsa.
Okay, you were talking about the script, like you're trying to do the internal script. Like you're trying to run another, what's it called? That was what the point is of hearing. I don't know if you had run that particular one.
Okay. Let me just go back a bit from there. All right. I didn't even know that I was not talking. I kind of moved a bit far somehow. Let me just take it off from there. So what I was trying to explain initially was that, can you see my screen again? Let me just confirm one more time.
Yes, you can see your screen.
All right, thank you. Okay. So initially I had a script. I had this script shown here that I was trying to explain to you guys. And I was saying this is a setup of an internal script whereby I place my code base on the same file as I have done on my HTML. But this is not scalable because this was the same issue that we had in CSS, whereby we had so many CSS code. We start writing this in the head. Sorry. So what we're going to do now is we'll take a look at taking out this code that we have here and creating an external JavaScript, which I created here called scripts.js. Then we'll place the code there such that we can import it into our HTML file, then afford to run it from our HTML file. Now we can have as long script as we can on that script file, and it will not make our HTML to be looking clumsy and bulky. Sorry. So that's what I was talking about. And how do we do that? First of all, I highlighted all of this console that I've written so far, and I commented them. Then I created a little bit of a source file. I did an ROC. Then I pasted a reference to the location of the script.js file, which I remember the last time I was talking about how do we import style sheets and we're trying to figure the whole thing out. The same thing here too as well. I have to reference my current working directory, put a / to it, then reference the script.js because I can now see it here. I reference it, script.js, and this is it. Very simple and easy. Now I think I was talking about the essence of this type, which is in similarity to what we did for style sheets, that we had to do a rel and give it a style sheet. The essence of this is the fact that if I remove the rel style sheet here and I just make a little reference to my CSS, let's say I have a CSS file in this folder right now, and I make a reference to that CSS file, it's going to be confused in the sense that it's seeing a file, but it doesn't know how to process the file. You get? But if I place a style sheet rel attached to it, it's going to understand that, okay, the file that I'm seeing, I should reference this file or render this file as a CSS file. You understand? It gives it more context on how to handle the file. So the same thing too goes for JavaScript part as well, where we are making use of the scripts and we added some type of test/JavaScript to it. Now we made a reference to as well. We're using a source, but in CSS we made use of an href. That's two different situations. So for JavaScript, we're using a source. And to make a reference to the scripts file, because scripts file is currently in our current working directory, which is this scripts file here. This is our current working directory of week 5, exactly. So we'll do a / full stop / we can see the files you have in that directory, then reference the one that we want to reference, which is the scripts.js. So we've done that referencing and we've completed our successfully the external scripts linking. So I can afford to remove all of these here, and we just have a simple one-liner that connects our JS, our scripts file, to our HTML. So I'll go back to my script file like I've created here. I've pasted all those codes, console logs code we copied from the HTML. I've pasted them here. And I was trying to explain initially whereby we're trying to run code runner on an HTML file, and it's failed because we cannot run a JavaScript code runner file or a setup on an HTML file. It's going to fail. But right now we have a proper JavaScript file, because you can see the extension here on the file is .js, telling you that it's a JavaScript file. So we can now afford to run our code runner on this particular file. And instead of getting to see the results like they were seeing it here, you can see the results on your test code. You can see that it has changed to, I changed the test of that at that point in time. There were no networks, so I changed hello Binsa to hello David. I changed, I think we had one name here. I've gotten the name I used, John. I changed it to Gloria, and I added some dots just like that. So because you guys didn't scale the change, I'm going to change it one more time again. So make it show gifts here, and I'll show only here. I guess that's the way you spell the name. So that's what I saw. So I hope I'm correct. So I changed the names here. Then I'll go back to my my browser. Then you can see the names has changed. I'm now having hello only, how are you doing today? And on the table parts, when I change to gifts, I can now see gifts showing here. But in a case whereby I don't want to be switching from my code to my browser to see my console, that comes the purpose of the code runner. So how do we use the code runner here? Like I showed you, you pop up this setup, like I normally told you to pop up, which is a Command Shift P or a Control Shift P to pop this up. Then you can see the run code here. So get to run code. Your own might not be showing run code at this point in time. You can just search for run code and you just see it, which is this guy here. So if I click on run code, while currently on this file, it has to be on, you have to be on this file to run the run code. So I'll go back again. While on this file, I click on run code. You can see I'm now having those data that normally showed on my console. I'm not showing them here on my terminal. So I can see hello only, how are you doing today? And I can see this one message dot and the name. Let's see if we change the name here. Let's see what happens. So we're going to change it to some other person's name. Let's say we're using Cyril now. Let's see what happens. Nothing changed, but let's rerun our code runner one more time. So we'll come here, run our code runner. You can see it has changed to Cyril. So this is just like a debugging tool that we can use to just run our code faster to see responses. So that's why I have to just show you this. We'll be using this as we go along, so we don't have to go to our browser every time. Using this setup going forward. So I guess on that note, we've been able to complete another section of our outline for today. We talked about the external and internal scripting. So let's tag this off. So now we are back to our module 2. So for module 2 down, I prepared something, another easy outline that gives a proper guide for that. So I'll run it on a live server like I always do. So I'll open my live server. So this is the setup I have for that module 2, broken down into a certain section that has some explanation by the side and also some code samples as well that can guide our understanding of how to go about it. But before I go forward, I need to just ask a couple of questions around to know if everything I've talked about on the module 1, if it has sunk or if it's still lingering. Let's see how we can help you out one way or the other. So let me hear from David and Siri. I don't know if you guys are available now. So David, Siri, are you there?
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, Siri, good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
So how has it been so far, JavaScript?
Okay, personally, I'm still trying to follow up. I'm trying to follow up here. But for the last one, the code runner, I was trying the installation. I was having had a little issue. I couldn't just fix it, but I'm still following up. Hopefully, I can fix everything.
Okay, what issue you're having?
I'm like trying to download the code runner, or on my site here. I see it's different from yours because the icon I saw in your own was it yellow, then my own is blue or something. I didn't really get it, but I'm still checking it.
Let's try to help you out.
Okay.
So did you just type in code, then wait for it to run, or you typed in code runner in full? Or
I type code runner in full.
Did you see this logo here, dot run?
Yes, I saw it, but mine was in blue, not yellow color like yours.
Okay, this one. I think this is what you saw.
Yes, that's what I saw.
Okay, you didn't see this yellow one.
Oh, okay. Let me search for the yellow one.
Okay, try to search and just scroll through it. You see it.
Okay, no problem.
Okay,
all
right.
Thank you.
The other person having such an issue, maybe you are seeing green or purple or something. David, are you there? Okay, Binta, yeah, you can speak up.
Okay, I'm still having the same issue with Serial. I don't know, maybe it's because we're using Windows and yours is Mac. I can't tell.
Okay. I'm not sure it's a case of a Mac or a Windows because back then when I was using Windows, I normally do have code runner on my system. So I don't think it's a kind of Windows or Mac issue. I will try and come back to say I can fix that. Let me just see if any other person that is even having Windows is having similar issue or they passed it. Then we can be able to debug it properly. So Ayobami, how are you doing on your end? Are you trying it out or are you there? First of all. Okay. No, not there. Let's move on because of time. Gives, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Yeah, are you trying it out on your end or you're just watching along?
I'm just watching along. There's currently no light here, so I
All
can't use
right,
my
no
system.
problem. All right, please ensure you practice. It is very, very, very important.
Okay, sir.
All right. So I only, how you doing? Are you practicing or are you watching along?
Hi, Elvis. I'm watching. I'm watching because I don't know if I practice. I just by the time I look away from the other screen and look, I've missed something. So I just paused and I'm just watching.
Okay. Do you have the VS Code open somewhere by the side?
Yes, on another Mac.
All right. Can you try checking out the code runner and see if you see it on the market?
Yes, for my Mac it is.
Oh, now we're going to have a little problem debugging it because I think it's showing for okay, Binta, let me see.
Okay. When yes, I think my code runner is working now. Like I'm seeing the dots run in yellow. So what I did was even when the thing is writing blue, like the color is blue when you search. If you click on it and you want to install, it automatically changes to yellow. So the dot run is going to be yellow. So maybe Elvis can just click on it and try to install. It will be the same
Okay.
thing with yours, yes.
All right. So Siri, did you get that? Can you try just see?
Oh, okay, let me check that.
Okay. So Gloria, I think you just stepped off. Are you back now? Are you there? Okay.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Have you been following or are you practicing with us or you're watching along to practice later?
I'm watching along to practice it. I was having issue with my coding stuff, so but I was able to correct it. Sha.
Okay. Are you using a Mac or a Windows?
I'm using a window.
Okay. Have you been able to try and see if you can install Code Runner or you will just do later?
I'll do it later.
All right. So Idera Olua or Lola Day. I hope I'm pronouncing the name well. Let me not kill it. Are you there?
Hi, good evening, sir.
Good evening. How you doing?
I'm fine.
Are you practicing with us or you are watching along?
No, actually, I'm watching along. There's no light over here. That's why.
Oh, okay. No problem. It's all right. So with that, I think we need to just continue the movement. See, let me know when you've done it. Just maybe send me a chat or just do something so I can know. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, it's been fixed now.
You fixed it. All right, perfect. So you can just set up some console log on your code base like the way I had and try to run it and see if you get those responses on your console.
Okay, no problem.
All right, thanks. So on that note, to move over to module 2, like the way I talked about, and I have it here. So module 2 talks about JavaScript syntax and the basics of JavaScript. Talked about JavaScript scripting language used to create dynamic content on websites. I'm going to break it down to some variables and certain data types in JavaScript. So I will just touch a bit here. Then I'm going to do some practical example on our terminal. So for the variables in JavaScript, you have 3 variables in JavaScript or 3 ways you can create variables basically. Because at the end of the day, you ask yourself what are variables, and I give you a little bit of short deep dive here where I said variables stores data. So they are kind of like variables are just data storage points, or I can't call them elements or a store because they don't store so much. Depending on what you are saving to them, they can store strings, numbers, booleans, objects, lists. They can store certain things, but they just store some simple values that you can just place into them. So they help you to store data such that you can make reference to that data some other time. I'll give an instance on variables that will move to data types. So I'll go back to my code where I set up this my script over here. We don't need so much of all of this console, we can just maybe comment it instead of removing it. Let's comment it out. So let's put some, I like to put some identifiers to my sections. So let's call this console sections. Do something like this. Then I like making it fine. This is just aesthetics, so don't worry too much about it. So this is what I do. I just do so many stars like this. Then I break it down. I duplicate the first line. I bring it down. So it just give me like a section kind of arrangement. It's good for the eye. So I do another one here and I call it variable sections. By the way, if you don't know what I did or how I did the whole thing, just put your hands up, then I'll come back and look at it. Put your hands up and I'll just go back and explain. But if no hands, I guess you know how to do it. So I'll move on. So on the variable section, I'm talking about three type of variables that we have in JavaScript. Okay, there's a hand. Let's see. Who's that today? Siri, yeah, let me hear you. Yeah, you can go ahead and speak.
Sorry, that was a mistake, please.
All right, no problem. It's fine. All right. So we'll go back to our code. So on our variable section, we have three types of variables that I'm going to be talking today. I think I showed you those variables on the file. So the first one that we have is variables on var. Then we have the lets, and we have const. So I'll quickly walk you through this, kind of like almost running out of time already. So I'm going to be very fast. So var, lets, and const are three type of ways or storage points we get to store variables. The essence of storing variables is very important in the sense that, let's say I want to do something like, I'm doing a console to just do this test. Let's say I'm doing something around, I need to close this guy so he allow me breathe. So I'll close this guy. Then I need to also put a comment here too as well. All this, I don't want all this to run. So that's why I'm putting the comments. Let me just comment it. So this is the one I want to run only, but the rest can just stay for the sake of guidance. So if I come here and I do hello, already calling hello one again. So let's just say hello one, how are you doing today? And I want to do another console again, and not this exactly. I want to remove this, and I want to do thank you. Let's say I'm doing thank you only, the same name, and I'm coming here again. I'm saying okay. I'm asking only the same thing, like okay, let's say I don't want to do one, let me do log. I'm coming here and I'm asking a question of what are you eating today? Let me do what are you eating today? What are you eating today? And I'm doing what are you eating today only. So you
Hi guys, so let's just hold on one sec. I think Elvis should join back. Hi guys, let's see what Elvis will be joining us shortly. Okay, guys, while we're waiting for Elvis, I think we can just do some question and answer. I mean, based on what we've learned so far. I mean, yeah. So I'll just ask question randomly. I mean, so we can just try to give feedback on what we've learned so far. So I would start with Cyril. I mean, from the class so far, what have you learned about JavaScript? Just give me like a brief recap of what you've learned. Hi, Cyril. Can you hear me?
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Everything's back.
Thank you, Manuel. Sorry, my internet is just misbehaving. I have to just switch to another one right now. I didn't even know I was out of the call. I just kept on talking. So sorry about that. I know I've burnt out some couple of just few minutes on the call, but let's try and see what we can cover up. Thank you guys. So Siri, is having a problem or they fix it? Oh, Siri has left the meeting. All right, let me share my screen and continue. All right, so I was talking about variables and I was making use of var as a first instance while I was trying to explain the use case of a variable. And I had setting set up here. I don't know where the whole thing was stopped at, but what I was trying to explain, like, I'm going to add another setting console at the bottom just to maybe buttress the point in case you missed it initially. So what I was talking about here is the essence of a variable helps us to avoid repetition unnecessarily. So we can afford to put in a variable across multiple lines in a vast code, such that in case we want to make a change to maybe a certain item that's repeated itself across those lines of code, it's easier for us to come here and just change that certain variable to something else. Let's say we call it gifts, for example. If we save this as gifts, then we run our code one more time with code runner. You're going to see that we're going to have the hello gifts, how you doing, how thank you gifts, and everything. So by changing it in just line 17, it affected every instances where gifts was used. If we change gifts over here again, so let's say we change it to Gloria, for example, then we run the code one more time. You can see it's going to change. Let me run it with code runner. You can see it's going to give us a new instance of that particular console data, but this time around having Gloria attached with it. We can also use let too as well to store variables. Let's say we'll call this food. Let's say we'll call it food. And we'll put rice, for example. We'll call it food, put it as rice. Then we'll create another console.log over here. And what we'll do, are you eating rice today? Are you eating rice today? So this is like a question. So then we have another console that also maybe has rice attached to it as well. I'll say yes. Let's say we'll do yes. I'm eating rice today. You understand? So now, if we want to change this rice in all the places it appears in, we are going to be changing it here, changing in all the places is affected. But what if we come here and just change the rice to beans over here? And how do we make that work? Let's leave it as rice first. Let's add the variable in the string. So for us to do that, we'll just do a concatenation of a string and a variable like what I did over here. So we'll code this separately. Then we'll add a space so that there can be space in it. Then we'll add our plus to concatenate. The plus helps us concatenate. So we'll do the same thing here as well. We'll quote this, we'll put the plus, we'll quote our today, put a space with it, add a plus, put a space here so that the reason for this space is here is such that the variable does not get close to the text, so that it can be a proper sentence. So put a space and everything. So we didn't reference, there's no rice variable. So you have to change it to food because food is the variable that we set. So we put a variable of food. Now, if we run this now, we'll see that we're having, are you eating rice today? Yes, I'm eating rice today. We are referencing this rice over here. If we change this to beans and we run the code one more time, you will see it's going to change to, are you eating beans today? Yes, I'm eating beans today. So this is kind of like how you set, okay, I'm still connected, just trying to confirm. But this is how you set variables and use them across board. Now we have a third variable called const. So the reason for this const is used to signify an element. I don't think I'm sharing my face. I'm not sharing my screen. Okay, I'm sharing my screen, but I'm not sharing my face. All right, camera is back on. Okay, so the const is used for elements that tends to change. For example, now I created a variable called student name and another variable called beans, which is food. I can come here and re-evaluate my variable and say student's name is equals to, let's reset it and call it John, for example. Let's say John Smith, for example. Then I do another console. Let's say I take a look, I copy this thank you student name over here. I drag it down to appear below John, below this reevaluation. Then I run the code and see what happens. So if I run the code and see what happens over here, at first I'm seeing things like, hello, Gloria. How are you doing today? Thank you, Gloria. What are you eating today, Gloria? How are you? Then this beans very well I said. Then you can see the name has changed to thank you, John Smith. And it was the same reference. But on this line 28, I had to reevaluate it and assign it a new value. So all references to that name after the reevaluation changes to that name I reevaluated it to. I don't know if it made sense. Let me go over it again. I started creating variables with a certain name called Gloria. Let me comment this out. It's kind of too much for this explanation. Let me leave it as this first one. So I have thank you, a student name, and I have thank you, a student name again. The same variable, student name. But at the first instance, I initialized the variable with a name called Gloria, with a value called Gloria. Then I call the console and use that variable. Then on the line 28, I reevaluated that name. You can see at this point in time when I was reevaluating the name, I didn't put a var again. because it's now me that I'm having the same, I'm creating the same variable twice. It's not necessary. I can reevaluate it by using that name and giving it another value. It's going to override the value that was set for it before. So any new instances or any new sentences that are going to be used to create this variable again after the re-evaluation is going to have that name that was re-evaluated with it. So the essence is this: I can afford to just come here to another line and change the name. So let me pick up a name here. Let's say I'm calling let me say I'm using Binta, for example. So I come here and I change the name to Binta. Let me spell it well. Change the name to Binta, and I check this again. I'm going to see the first line is going to run, thank you, Gloria. Second one with the reevaluation, thank you, Binta. So I can do this because I'm using a var, but I can't do a reassignment in a const. So I have to set this because I need to go down to const. Because when a const file, let's see if it will throw an error, because JavaScript is very loose that it cannot catch some kind of errors. But when you start writing TypeScript, it's now so tightly coupled that it can catch certain errors and show responses. But let's see if it will throw any error on JavaScript or if it will work. Let's test it. So I'm creating a constant of, let's say, gender, for example. So we'll call this constant. Let's say we'll call it male for a start. Then we'll create a variable before we test the evaluation, and we'll say console.log, and I will say my gender is, put your plus, my gender is gender. So we reference the gender variable I created here, which is a const, and we say my gender is gender. So we'll not try to, let's
Sorry, guys, I've messaged Elvis. He will join back soon or shortly. Stay tuned, guys.
Sorry, can you hear me now? Man, I think we have so many off and on today. I will just try to recap as much as I can and also send some resources to help clarify certain points. So let me just go over let me share my screen again. So I was talking about the reevaluation of a const, where I said you can reevaluate a var and a let because they're not constants. But for a constant, you cannot reevaluate the constant. If you reevaluate a constant, there will be an error. But because we're writing JavaScript, it is not that tightly coupled in the sense that it allows some errors fly and it will not show those errors, or it will not properly catch it. But when we start writing TypeScript, all those errors will be caught. For example, now, assuming this was a TypeScript code, it will be showing me that this, what I've done now like this, is an error. I don't even have to wait to run it. It will be showing that there's an error here because I cannot reevaluate the constant. But in JavaScript, everything just looks good. So let's see if there'll be an error when we run the code. So pop up code on and let's see we'll have an error. Good, we have an error. So the error message says assignment to constant variable. We cannot do that. So at this point in time, you can see it's pointing to that particular section where we are trying to assign to a constant. And there's a type error there, which you cannot assign another value to an already initialized constant variable. That's error. So if we remove this, comment it out, and run the code, it's going to work by saying, thank you, Gloria, my gender is male, my gender is male. We change it at the point of where we initialize it to female and run it again. It has changed again. My gender is female, my gender is female. So this is how you work with variables. And we have three variables. We have the var, we have the let, we have the const. So those are three variables we have in JavaScript. And you're wondering, okay, what's the difference between the var and the let? Var is old. It is when you create a variable, when you make it a variable, a var variable, it is almost accessible throughout the entire page or entire script that you write. But let can help you to scope that variable. I won't discuss so much about var and let. We'll come back to var and let when we start working with functions, so you can have a beautiful understanding of the difference between a var and let. So I'll just leave that for when we get to functions. The next thing on our list we're talking about today is data types. So we'll just quickly see how we can brush off data types, operations, and if possible, control flow as fast as I can. So for data types, we have a string data type, which we've used to store Gloria, serial. You can see that we can remember when we did that. That was the string data types. The number data type is just used to store numbers, like exactly what we did the other time. But instead of us to store numbers, variables, let me just use let's, for example, I can say age and I'm storing a number and say 28. You can see, so this is a number data type that I've just stored. And I can also store a Boolean. So this is a Boolean, so as well I can store true and false value. Is married, false, is single, true. So this is a Boolean expression. This is, let me just put a type. This is a string data type because I can store string values. This is a string data type too as well. Then this is a string data type too. Then this is a number data type. This is a Boolean data type. Then this is a Boolean data type as well. So these are like the very, very important and common data types we have across the JavaScript ecosystem. Then other data type we have, so as well, we have the null and we have the undefined. So how do we do null? So we can do null. Let's say we're setting city, but I don't currently know your city, so I'll just do a null just like this, so that I can reevaluate it later and update it. But because I don't know if that city is going to be a string or a Boolean, I don't know what it might be, so I just set it as a null. So according to the explanation here, it's an intentionally empty value. So that's what the null means. It just helps me to save something that I don't know exactly what the type might be. So this is a kind of like a null data type. Then the last one is the undefined, whereby we just set a variable without initializing it. We just say let country. Then we cannot come to the, let's say somewhere down here, and it evaluates the country to have a name. But at the point of creating it over here, we did not initialize with any value. So this particular type of data type is called an undefined data type, whereby we create a variable, but we don't initialize it with a value. It's just there. But we can always afford to reevaluate it later and add a variable to it. That's what we just did here. But if you don't initialize it with a value, it's an undefined type. If you set it as null, it's a null data type. If you do a true or a false, it's a Boolean data type. If you use a number as a number, then strings are the ones that we've been doing so far. So this is everything about data types. You can see the guide I had here: message, number, Boolean, null, and undefined. So this is everything that I want to talk about on, let me see where we are right now from our outline. Then we're going to cover variables. We've covered everything here. We completed this. We've completed this as well. So we're currently down to, okay, I think there's a question. All right, please, you can go ahead.
Okay, so from what you've said, from reassigning a value or a variable, what if we assign a number as a number, then later we want to like reassign it to be a string or to be a boolean? How do we do that?
Okay, so let's do it so we don't get to just talk about so many things. So let's just do it. So let's say we have a number, age 25, and this is a number, right? Because if I'm to convert this 25 to a string, or just put a quote around it, is a string. But because there's no quote around it, it's a number. So let's say we have this number of age and want to reevaluate this number to a boolean or whatever the case may be. So I can come here and just do age is equals to 20, which is a string age. This first one is a number age, a number type, because there's a number value here. But this is a string. So if let me comment the code so that we can really see what we need to see. So I come here and I say, I do a console that talks about my age. Then I say I am so years old. If I copy this setup over here and I place it before I reevaluated it, maybe somewhere down here, let me remove the gender parts of it. So I have, let me comment this one so as well. So I have I am 8 years old above. I reevaluated it and I have I am 8 years old here. So let's see what the two response is going to give. Or if you want to have an error, let's see. So we run this on Code Runner. You can see I am 25 years old. I am 20 years old. So I got the same response and nothing changed. But if we do something and say, okay, let's check the type of those data set that we just called. So I do a type, then I'm trying to check the type. So there's a function called type of in JavaScript. So I'm going to check type of age at this point in time, then duplicate this and drag it down to get the type of after the evaluation here. So let's see, then I'll do the explanation. So I run this again. So you can see the first type it checked was a number, and I got the type number for the age. And the second type it checked was now a string. So it means that in JavaScript, which I said is not a typed language initially. Let me just comment. I don't want to be removing too much code. So in JavaScript, like I said, initially it's not a typed language. So you can just set one type to the boolean today, tomorrow set it to be string, next tomorrow set it to be number. You can just be changing things up and down, and nothing will happen. It will still work. But in case where you have a large project whereby you change one value or one variable for a boolean, it's true, and tomorrow from somewhere somehow you change, maybe mistakenly you change that particular variable to a number. So imagine you are doing a arithmetic operation whereby you are doing this variable plus this variable. Now you're going to add 2 plus 2. 2 plus 2 will fail. You understand? So it's going to affect your code base in production because you're trying to calculate a boolean and a number. But because you did not know, you changed things all over the place and you cannot trace it. So now comes TypeScript. So assuming we're writing a TypeScript of this particular file, it will fail to run to reassign an already created number variable. We will have an error when we are reassigning it to a string variable or a string value. It's going to give us an error here and now. We won't have to wait. Let me try and show you something. Let me create the same script file, but I'll call it .ts. So .ts signifies TypeScript in this sense. Right? JS is JavaScript, TS is TypeScript. So I'll just see if I can copy everything that we've done so far and paste it inside the TypeScript and see the error. You can see it's already shouting on so many things that we've been doing so far that JavaScript has been giving us free hand. First of all, it's saying that we created this variable called food and we are not even using it. We created a gender. We said, cannot we declare block scope variable gender? We're already frowning on so many errors already. Now, this one that we created, we say variable country implicitly has an any type. That means they don't even know the type that this variable is. If it's a string, it does not even know, and it's frowning on it. This other place that, let's say, when we created this age, we made it to be a number. Now, where we are assigning it to be a string, and it's giving an error. Type string is not assignable to type number. You understand? So this is what a type script is going to give you. It's going to give you a typed structure such that it prevents you from making some mistakes that are costly. You understand? But nevertheless, we're starting with JavaScript. I want to have a good understanding of JavaScript so that at the time we start porting or changing to TypeScript, it becomes clear for us to know what to do and how to do it. So to answer your question initially, this is how we change one variable to have multiple types. But is it efficient? No. You understand? But in JavaScript, it will allow it to slide. But when you start writing proper code in TypeScript, it will not agree. We have to make sure that once we create it initially as a number, any other reevaluation has to be a number. If you create it as a string, any other reevaluation later on has to be a string and not the other ways. I don't know if it's clear to you right now.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome. So with that, we've been able to cover up variables, and we're moving down to operators. So for operators, we just have some basic operators that we have here. Let me see if I can just talk about it because time is fast spent already. So we have the arithmetic operators, we have the assignment operators, comparison, and logical ands and alls. So we have this that we talked about. This is just a number type variable. So we can do an addition for an arithmetic operator. We can do variable A plus variable B, which is 10 plus 5, and we get 15. And we can also run something through variable A minus B, which is 5, which is just two variables over here. So this is just about arithmetic operators. We can also do times, division, and so many other things on arithmetic. So for comparison, we're trying to compare two variables together. So we're trying to compare if variable A, which is 10, is equal to 10 as a number. So when we do this comparison, we're going to get true because variable A, which is a 10, is also equals to 10. So that's true. If we now do a comparison, it's okay, this variable A equals to 10 as a string, it's going to be false because variable A is not equal to 10 as a string. Now, some of us might be confused and say, okay, but in this first one, we have two equality sign, and in this second one, we have three equality sign. Why? What's the essence? I'll come back there in a bit. So on this second, or the third one rather, the logical operator, we have where we can do a greater than sign and comparison sign and whatever the case may be. So we said if A, which is 10, is greater than 5, and B, which is 5, is less than 10, we're comparing both of them. If both of them satisfies the condition, it becomes true. That is how we have this double ampersand logic over here. So without wasting so much time, I'll just copy this code over here so I won't have to write so much. Let's see if we can maybe just close the curtain here. So I'll paste this code over here. I have my variable A 10, my variable B 5. Arithmetic, talked about that one, is clear. Comparison, this is the one I was having to talk about. Let me just talk about it right now. So this double equals to sign tends to check for a superficial type. For example, it carries out comparison based on value only and not on type. Remember when I was talking about type here, when I said that I can reassign the same different data to a variable, even though it's a string or a number, and then to show it. But when I went to check for the type, and I saw that one was a number and one was a value. Sorry, one was a string. But if I didn't check for the type, I would just see that there's 25 and there's 20. I won't know which one is a number and which one is a string. So when we are doing a double equality sign comparison, it is checking on a value level. That means if A is a string of 10 and we're comparing it to a number of 10, it's going to return true because it's checking for the value. Does the value of string 10 equal to the value of number 10? Yes, because it's both 10, 10. That's equality sign, double equality sign. But the triple equality sign is checking on both value and on type. Does the value equal to, but are the both values the same? That's on the value check. And on the type check, are both the type of both instances I'm checking? If false, if true, yes. So let's try and run this quickly. Let me comment this out. I'm not showing logical yet, and I'm not showing arithmetic either. So let's talk about this first of all. So we have this one that is saying A is 10 equals to 10. We're checking for A is equal to 10 on this side as well. So we'll run this run code. You can see we're having a true and a false because A, which is 10, is equals to 10. On both values comparison, it is correct. Even on type comparison, it is still correct. But the second type, what we said, A, which is a string, so A, which is a number over here, is it equals to the string of a triple equality sign? No, because it matches the value, but it does not match the type. Let's see if we are correct. So let's say we change this to a double equals to, and remember, double equality sign matches only value, but does not match type. So let's comment the first one. Let's just test the second one. Now we have A, which is a number here, and we're comparing it with a 10 of a value 10. But if you look at the type on both cases, this A is a number and the comparison match is a string. Let's see if we'll get true or false. Let's run this. We're getting true because on this level of double equality sign, it is matching it on only value and not type. If we change this to a triple equality sign, run the code one more time, it's going to be false because it now moves from just value to value and type. You understand? So that is the difference between a double equality sign and a triple equality sign. And JavaScript basics, they always tell you that if you are comparing anything, always make sure you compare down to the type, both value and type. That's when it makes sense. Otherwise, you are just doing a low-level matching and anything can go. So that is why it's advisable at any time to do a triple equality comparison. So for the logical explanation, we have A is 10. Is 10 greater than 5? True. B is 5. Is 5 greater than 10? True. Are both of them true? Yes, both of them are true. Now let's say B, for example, now is 12. And we say A is 10. Is 10 greater than 5? Yes, it's true. B is 12 now. Is 12 less than 10? No, false. And we're comparing both of them. Let's see what the response will be. So run our code one more time. We're going to get false. So it means that even though this is true and this is false, everything will become false because both sides does not support the comparison. So that's why one will fail. So this is what we call logical comparison. And another thing that also have a logical comparison, we have this. This is or. Ampersand means and, means that both of them must be checked. But the or, which is double, if I call it, I forgot the name of this sign. I can't remember. So we have this double line here. So this means that one of them, if one of them is true, then evaluates to true. That's what this means. But the ampersand sign means if one of them is false, means that everything is false. But for the double or the or sign, it means that if one of them is true, you can give me true, I don't mind. So let's see what will happen since one of them is going to fail, one of them is going to succeed, which is this first one here. Let's say we get true or false. We get it true because this one is successful, but this one fails. So that's why we have it true because we're not checking for both of them has to be satisfied. We're checking for if only one is okay, give me that one. But when we switch it to ampersand sign, it means that both of them have to be okay for it to work. But for the or sign, one of them can be okay and it will still work. So that's the difference between the ampersand and the double line sign. So that's for almost at the tail of our meeting. So that's for operators. So with that, I can say we've completed the first section of module 2 has been completed. So that takes us down to control flow. Control flow functions makes up the last part of our module 2. I was actually hoping that we can conclude module 2 at least, but time has been fast spent. We'll possibly have to start wrapping up for at this point in time. So as control flow talks about the if else statements, you can see we're using the same logical variable here, or checking for greater than sign over here. So it just tells us if this is greater than 90, do a console log of this, else do a console, do a console log of this, else do this. So this is just what the control flow is telling us. I think what I can do to make this particular class to make more sense, I would have to send this code base. I have this as a code base. This is the code base that everything has. So this is the code base here. So I'll just take this code base, then paste it on the WhatsApp, such that you can copy this code base on WhatsApp, go to your VS Code, create an index.html file or any file that you like, any name that you want to give it, but let it be an HTML file, paste it here, run into the live server, and you're going to see exactly what I'm seeing right now. Then you can read through what I have here, copy the code and practice till you can possibly maybe finish the class. Then when we meet again next week, we'll continue from where we stopped and just further do an explanation. So it will be clearer at that point in time because you've taken your time to go through the class beforehand. You understand? So that's what I'm going to do. I hope I've been able to at least give you a little bit of idea of JavaScript basics. I touched some TypeScript related issues and got you up to speed. So let me just iterate one more time on the things I'm going to be making available this week. I'm going to be making available items around resources for HTML, CSS, and also providing resources around the PDF that I promised I'm going to be sending. Projects, which is like some Figma files that you can go through to start preparing for your projects. Also some things around this class, which is this course outline as well. So I'll drop all of those data. I'll drop some today, then drop others inside the week, so we can have time to just start going through them one at a time. So with that, I believe we'll come to the end of today's class. Sorry for those breaks. It's just unfortunate that we have to stay in Nigeria and experiencing certain issues like this, but let's hope things will get better and we'll have less issues like this. So thank you guys. Imale, please can carry on.
All right, thank you, Elvis. Yeah, I pray things improve on the Nigerian side of things, and it's probably one of the things that we are all doing on this call, to ensure that we get the right skills that can eventually help Nigeria. Whatever you all choose to do with the skill, it's all up to us. Thank you very much, Elvis, for what you've done today. Once again, we've all learned a lot of things and we've taken our knowledge forward today. So thank you. We are going to reconvene next week. We have about 3 more weeks to the end of this cohort. And please, guys, like Elvis mentioned earlier, practice. Also, if you have questions, please feel free to drop it in a group. It's going to not just help you, but also help other people who are also part of this cohort. So thank you very much, guys. Let's have a lovely week. I will make sure that the video is also available. If not today, then tomorrow by God's grace. So thank you, guys. And yeah, let's have a lovely week ahead. Elvis, thank you. Cheers.
Thank you, Mola. Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful day.